meditation is usually associated with mysticism, religion, and spirituality. And I'm not here today to dismiss folks who meditate for spiritual reasons. I just want to make it clear right here at the beginning, that's simply not the focus of this video, and it's not why I personally meditate. I'm also not going to spend any time here talking about the mental or physical health benefits of meditation. There are already tons of videos out there talking about those kinds of benefits of meditation. But to be clear, meditation has helped me a lot with my personal depression, anxiety, blood pressure, ADHD, and other issues. But yeah, that's not what I'm here to talk to you about today. So why the hell am I talking about meditation on a channel that usually focuses on politics? Well, today I'm going to make the case that there are political benefits to meditation. I believe that meditation makes us more competent, more productive, and more effective in political action. I'm not talking about some kind of supernatural phenomenon where if we all visualize a better world, it will magically come into being. I don't believe that meditation has any supernatural powers at all. I don't think it's possible to manifest our consciousness and will it into reality or anything like that. So that's not what I'm talking about here either. So I guess it's time we start talking about what I am talking about. So let's talk about consciousness. Consciousness includes all the internal processes of the human brain, which manifest as thought and give us our sense of self. Karl Marx and Friedrich Engels proposed that consciousness evolved from our labor activities and from our need to communicate with one another through language to transform nature to suit our needs. And as I've explained in a couple of other videos, according to this Marxist view, consciousness is determined by material reality. That is to say, we have consciousness because of the gray matter of our brains and the physical processes which occur within our material brains. But we can also use our minds, our mental activity, to impact the material world through conscious activities. If I get the idea to do something and the material conditions allow for it, then I can change the world around me through my physical activities, which are directed by my consciousness. I just picked up some sand. I changed the world, literally. Can you do that? You can, because of your ability to impact the material world through conscious activity. This is reflected on the macro level in the arena of political struggle. Every political movement is made up of individual human beings, and every human being is a conscious entity. And it is through collective conscious activity that we are able to make great impacts on our surroundings and our fellow human beings, spark revolutionary movements, and if our actions are properly focused and directed, we can change the world. Like I just did when I picked up that sand. Remember that? But, I mean, on a bigger scale. We're talking about scale here. Scale. But one of the biggest barriers to our collective action is our collective false consciousness. If every individual has wrong ideas, we will perform the wrong actions and we won't be able to bring about the changes we desire in the world. Because we live in highly developed, late-stage capitalist societies, false consciousness plagues all of us. We are all heavily impacted by both the constant inundation of capitalist imperialist indoctrination and the frantic environments of modern capitalist society. Just think about a typical day for an average worker in a country like the USA. The first thing we do when we wake up is we reach for our smartphone so we can check out social media. And right away, our consciousness is bombarded by corporate advertising as well as the highly toxic personal engagements which sites like Twitter and Facebook cultivate. This is often followed by a stressful, frantic commute, a horrible day at work, and an evening of distractions to try and evade the anxieties which society piles upon us day in and day out under capitalism. Thus, we find our minds under constant attack by overstimulation and stress, but this is hardly the only source of disturbance in our mental lives. Our minds are also under constant siege laid by the forces of capitalist hegemony, which expend billions of dollars and tremendous resources to try and take control of our consciousness. A never-ending torrent of capitalist media propaganda and misinformation distorts our perception of reality while reinforcing patriarchy, white supremacy, ableism, and all the other secondary contradictions which reinforce capitalism. And these cognitive distortions are peppered over our thoughts through a lifetime of indoctrination and programming from our schooling, from our media consumption, and from the general background of bourgeois society which we inhabit, and this deeply affects our patterns of thought. Most of us who live in capitalist society, therefore, have minds which are cluttered with garbage and buzzing with noise, and these are not suitable conditions for undertaking the complex and challenging and strenuous work of political revolution. It's a pretty good fucking take, huh? So when I talk about meditation, I'm talking about an organized and systematic approach to training your mind, organizing your thoughts, and untangling the mess which capitalism has made within your consciousness. I'm talking about getting to know your own consciousness on an intimate level in a way that will help you to understand your own thought processes so that you can develop better and more precise control over how you think and act in the world. There's absolutely nothing mystical or supernatural about any of this. The fact is, the human mind is a complicated phenomenon, and we should all seek more control over the ways in which we think. For me, meditation has been a powerful tool for simply sorting through that mental detritus and gaining more control over my own thinking. I've only been practicing for a few years. I'm certainly not enlightened or anything like that, and only off and on have I been able to sit daily. But when I am able to practice daily, the effects are clear and profound, and slowly but surely I find that I'm becoming better able to take control of my own mind. So, okay, what exactly is meditation, and how does it help with all these problems with capitalism? Well, there are a lot of different kinds of meditation, but the one I find useful for training my mind is simple mindfulness meditation. Mindfulness meditation has two primary goals: stable attention and mindfulness. First, let's talk about stable attention. Now, attention, of course, refers to whatever your mind is currently focusing on. At any given moment, your brain is receiving a ton of data. It's receiving information from your senses about the outside world. It's receiving data from your body about feelings like hunger, pain, and pleasure. And it's also generating a constant stream of thoughts from your own memories and impulses. Your consciousness has to juggle all of this information by deciding what to ignore and what to pay attention to. Now, you're always paying attention to something, but if you've never trained your mind, it's likely that you're often paying attention to the wrong things, or things that you don't really want to be paying attention to. Most of us find our attention bouncing around more or less sporadically. Your brain's always scanning your surroundings, your body, and your memories, and offering up things for you to consider paying attention to. Often, you'll find yourself wanting to focus on some specific activity or train of thought, whether it's your work, safely driving your car, spending quality time with your friends and family, but you just can't. You get distracted, your attention gets drawn away. I'm sure you've been there. You're talking to a loved one, you really want to be focused on what they're saying, but you find your mind being pulled away by your phone, or your thoughts about work, your worries and concerns, and a million other things. Meditation helps us to sustain stable attention on our own terms, on the things we want to pay attention to. The more you meditate, the more you'll be able to selectively choose what specifically you pay attention to, and it helps you build stable attention. Meditation also helps you build mindfulness. Mindfulness is a balance between your sustained, stable attention and your awareness of everything else that's around you. See, in most situations, we'd like to be able to focus on what we want to be focused on. Right now, I want to focus on reading this script and finishing this video, but my peripheral awareness just noticed this dead fish over here, and it's kind of creeping me out. So I'd like to balance more of my attention on finishing this damn video because it's starting to rain and I want to go inside. Anyway, generally, we find ourselves either hyper-focused on one thing so much that we lose track of everything else. Ever been late for dinner because you were too drawn into work or a video game or a hobby? Or we find ourselves so distracted by the frantic world around us that we can't focus on things we really should be focusing on, which probably has something to do with the fact that every year there are thousands of people who die in car crashes caused by distracted driving. Practicing meditation will allow you to have more precise control over how you balance your awareness and your stable attention, and this is what we call mindfulness. Basically, long story short is meditation allows you to think and act with intentionality. Rather than being ruled by the random and spontaneous turbulence of an untrained mind, you will learn to think on your own terms without becoming distracted by unwanted fluctuations of attention. And that's pretty cool, if you ask me. Another benefit of meditation, and one which I found particularly profound, is learning how your own stream of consciousness functions. Growing up in a Christian environment, I was actually taught that having a sinful thought is just as bad as performing a sinful action. And this seriously messed me up, since going through my life, bad thoughts pop into my head all the time. Now, I don't generally act on them, but I've always felt responsible for those bad thoughts that just randomly sprang into my mind. But that's silly. Throughout your day, your brain is constantly pushing thoughts and impulses at you, just like the world around you is constantly presenting you with sights, smells, and sounds. That's just your brain's job, really. It's presenting you with options, things for your consciousness to consider, and it's up to you to decide what to ignore and what to focus on and act upon. So the thoughts which your brain constantly shoves in front of you aren't you any more than the things you come across in the external world in your daily life. When you meditate and try very hard to clear your mind, you begin to realize that thoughts emerge seemingly at random about all sorts of things, and it's not really something we have control over, at least at first. The more you meditate, the more you'll begin to see that thoughts popping up out of seemingly nowhere is just another function of your brain, and over time, you'll become better and better at simply dismissing and ignoring the thoughts which aren't helping you at all, or which might be harmful, like all that programming and indoctrination you've received from capitalism. And quieting your mind whenever you need to concentrate becomes easier and easier the more you meditate. This, I found, is particularly important for dismantling false consciousness, which has been programmed into us by capitalist society. The more I meditate, the more I become aware of how so many of those thoughts which pop into my mind are rooted in falsehoods and toxic mental constructs which were programmed into me from an early age by the shitty society I was born into. And meditation makes it much easier for me to reprogram my thoughts with intentionality, which helps me to escape from that mental prison which the ruling class has worked tirelessly to build in my consciousness from the beginning of my life. So think about how all of this is relevant to the political revolutionist. We know that we live in a society which is constantly pushing us to conform to capitalism while aiming to subdue and divide us with false consciousness. We seek to transform ourselves by dismantling false consciousness so that we can go on to change the world through conscious activity. Meditation facilitates all of this by giving us the best chance of identifying and dismantling false consciousness within ourselves, simultaneously loosening the grip which bourgeois civil society has on our minds and enabling us to think and act with intentionality, rather than being led around by our reactionary impulses. If all this sounds good to you, then I suggest you give meditation a try. It might take some experimentation to find a routine that works for you. You could try one of the billions of guided meditation audio tracks or videos out there. But for me, the simplest and best way to do it is just to sit down and focus on your breathing. You can do it right now. Just breathe in, hold, breathe out, hold, rinse, and repeat. At first, you'll find yourself frustrated by all the random thoughts flying through your head. Just relax and don't fight yourself. What I try to do is just acknowledge every thought as it passes into my head, and then remind myself that I could think about it later, just consider the thought and set it aside, and go back to meditating. Observe your mind, observe your surroundings. I like to meditate here at the beach, where I can focus on the waves, focus on the clouds passing by, just soak in reality, soak in the world around me. And trust me, if you do this, if you observe your mind, observe your surroundings, you will be amazed at what you discover about your own consciousness. Meditate for as long as you can, as often as you can, but it doesn't really take all that much effort. Even just 5 minutes a day can have profound effects, but you have to keep it up. You have to be consistent. It's probably better to practice for a couple minutes every single day than it would be to meditate for like an hour once a week. So, try to do it every single day for as long as you're able. It might take a while before you start to notice any results. I didn't notice any effects at all at first. For the first few weeks when I started meditating, it was actually my wife, Luna, who has a great channel about Vietnam, Luna Oi, link in the description. She's the one who pointed out to me that I seemed more calm and more happy after I'd been meditating for several weeks in a row. So don't expect results to blow you away. It's going to be a gradual, very subtle thing. Just enjoy the practice itself for what it is. Have patience with yourself and enjoy meditation. If you want to learn more about meditation from a secular, non-mystical perspective, I highly recommend the book, The Mind Illuminated, by Dr. John Yates, who was a professor of physiology and neuroscience and who unfortunately just passed away a few months ago. I'll put a link in the description to that as well. And that's basically it. I don't think meditation in and of itself is going to bring about the revolution, but I do hope that we can normalize meditation on the left as a powerful weapon in our battle against the ruling class for control of our own minds. And I hope you'll give it a shot. If you have any questions about meditation, or if you'd like to share your own experiences with meditating, sound off in the comments. I'm EJ, this is NonCompete. Thank you very much for watching. Please go out there and enjoy your time on this beautiful earth. And let's change human society so that we can, not destroy it. Bye.
Wait, don't go yet. I need to tell you what's going on. I'm currently taking very intensive Vietnamese classes, which I should have done a long time ago. It's like 20 hours a week, kicking my ass. And I don't have a lot of time to make videos, but I did make this video. It's kind of funny because somebody complained about my last video because it used a lot of stock footage and they said I just phoned it in, but actually that kind of video takes a lot more time to edit than this kind of video where I'm just walking around. But anyway, yeah, so I might not have a lot of videos coming up, but I will be live streaming on my live stream site, youtube.com/noncompetelive. And we'll also be pushing out more highlights on our highlights channel, youtube.com/noncompete-highlights. So thank you for your patience during this period of time. Also, I'm going to start hosting videos from smaller creators on my channel, I hope, soon. So if you're a smaller creator and you want to do a little mutual aid kind of stuff, get in touch with me. eamericanjohnson@gmail is the way to do that. Oh yeah, one more thing. One of my most viewed videos on my channel was about the Manosphere and the red pill, and I did that video a long time ago. It's kind of out of date now. If you want a fresh perspective, check out my comrade BP's video that BP just did on that subject. It's pretty good. Link in the description. Bye. For real this time.